My parents tried to steal my multimillion-dollar inheritance, but my grandparents had other plans. I'm still reeling from everything that's happened over the last few months, and honestly, I just need to get it all out. I feel like I'm living in a movie, and I'm not sure how to process any of it. This is going to be a long one, so bear with me. My name is Alex, and I'm 28 years old. I've always had a complicated relationship with my parents, Michael and Sarah. They were always ambitious, let's say. They valued appearances and social status above pretty much everything else. My older sister, Clara, who is 32, was always their golden child. She was beautiful, popular, and excelled at everything she did, or at least, that's how my parents portrayed her. I, on the other hand, was always a bit more reserved, more interested in my books and my art than in fitting into their perfect little world. My grandparents, on my mother's side, Eleanor and Richard, were the complete opposite. They were kind, generous, and saw me for who I was, not who they wanted me to be. They lived a comfortable life, not lavishly, but they were well off. Richard had been a successful entrepreneur, and Eleanor had invested wisely over the years. They were the only real source of unconditional love and support I had growing up. My parents, while providing for my physical needs, often made me feel like an afterthought, a supporting character in Clara's grand narrative. When I was 18, I decided to go to a state university, a good one, but not the Ivy League my parents had envisioned for Clara, and, by extension, for me, as a testament to their superior parenting. This was a major point of contention. They pushed hard for me to apply to the same prestigious schools Clara had attended, but I wanted something different, something I felt was more aligned with my own aspirations and less with theirs. My grandparents, however, were incredibly supportive. They encouraged me to follow my heart and even offered to help with tuition, an offer I gratefully accepted, though my parents dismissed it as unnecessary, insisting they could cover everything. Looking back, I realize now their insistence was less about financial capability and more about maintaining control and presenting a unified front of their own success. During my university years, I worked part-time jobs and focused on my studies. Clara, meanwhile, graduated, got a high-paying job, and married a seemingly successful man named David. My parents were ecstatic. Their perfect daughter had achieved the perfect life, and they never missed an opportunity to remind me of her accomplishments, often subtly hinting that I should strive to be more like her. It was exhausting. My grandparents, seeing my struggles and the emotional toll my parents' favoritism took on me, made a point of spending even more time with me. They'd visit me at university, take me out for meals, and just listen. They truly understood me in a way my parents never seemed to bother to. Richard, especially, often talked to me about financial independence and the importance of having my own security. He would say things like, "Never rely on anyone else for your happiness, Alex, especially not for your financial well-being." These words stuck with me. Sadly, when I was 24, Richard passed away. It was devastating. He had been a rock in my life. The funeral was a somber affair, but I remember a distinct tension between my parents and Eleanor. I didn't understand it at the time, but I just put it down to the grief. After the funeral, Eleanor, looking frail but determined, pulled me aside. She told me that Richard had always had a special place in his heart for me, and that he had made arrangements for my future, but that she would explain everything in due time. My parents were hovering nearby, clearly trying to listen in, but Eleanor spoke in hushed tones, her gaze unwavering. A few months later, Eleanor also passed away. This was a double blow. I felt utterly adrift. My grandparents had been my anchor, and now they were both gone. The family gathered for Eleanor's funeral, and again, I noticed my parents acting strangely. They were overly solicitous towards me, which was unusual, and kept making comments about family sticking together and sharing burdens. It felt disingenuous. A week after Eleanor's funeral, my parents called me to their house. They were sitting at the dining table, looking very serious. Clara and David were also there, looking equally solemn. My stomach churned. I had a bad feeling. My father, Michael, cleared his throat. "Alex," he began, "we need to talk about your grandparents' estate. Okay, I said, bracing myself. I knew they had significant assets, but I hadn't really thought about it beyond the immediate grief. My mother, Sarah, interjected. Your grandparents, bless their souls, were a bit unconventional in their thinking. They loved you very much, dear, but perhaps didn't fully grasp the complexities of managing a substantial inheritance. I frowned. What are you talking about? Michael took over. They named you as the sole beneficiary of their entire estate. Every single penny, all their properties, everything. My jaw dropped. I stared at them, then at Clara and David, who were avoiding my gaze. I was stunned. I knew my grandparents loved me, but I never expected anything like this. I knew they were well off, but I had no idea just how much. The estate, Michael continued, his voice carefully neutral, is worth approximately $12 million. $12 million. I felt lightheaded. It was an astronomical sum. My mind raced, trying to comprehend it. Clara finally spoke, her voice tight. It's a lot, Alex. A really, really lot. We've been discussing this, Sarah said, picking up a napkin and smoothing it nervously. And we believe that, well, that this isn't what your grandparents truly intended. They were elderly, you know, and sometimes people make rash decisions without fully considering the implications. My blood ran cold. I knew where this was going. They surely meant for the family to benefit equally, Michael added, nodding gravely. Clara has a family now, a mortgage, future expenses for her children. She needs a stable financial foundation. And you, Alex, Sarah said, her voice dripping with condescension. You're still so young. You don't have a family yet, no major responsibilities. You're not ready for this kind of money. It would be a burden, honestly. You might make poor choices, squander it. Clara chimed in. We're not saying you shouldn't get anything, Alex, of course not. But it would only be fair to divide it. Maybe a quarter for you, and the rest to be managed by us, for the family's collective good. For our good. I stared at them, my heart pounding with a mixture of disbelief and fury. You're saying you want me to just hand over my inheritance? An inheritance my grandparents explicitly left to me. Not hand over, Michael corrected, though his tone suggested otherwise. More like, allow us to guide you. We are your parents, Alex. We know what's best. We'll invest it wisely, ensure it grows, and you'll always have access to a portion. But the bulk of it needs to be with Clara. She has more pressing needs, a more established life. More established life. I scoffed. So, because I chose a different path, because I'm not married with children, I'm deemed incapable of managing my own money? Money that my grandparents left to me. It's not fair, Alex, Clara finally burst out, her composure cracking. I was the one who always excelled, who always made them proud. I deserve a larger share. They loved me more. They just made a mistake in the will. The audacity of her words hit me like a physical blow. The years of feeling like a second-class child, the constant comparisons, the emotional neglect, it all came rushing back. They weren't trying to protect me. They were trying to steal from me. No, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Absolutely not. This is my inheritance. My grandparents made their wishes clear. They trusted me. Sarah's eyes narrowed. Alex, don't be foolish. We are offering you a generous arrangement. Think about it. We are your family. Some family, I retorted, standing up. You're trying to manipulate me, to take what's mine. Richard always told me to be financially independent. He always told me to be smart with my money. He taught me to protect myself. Michael slammed his hand on the table. Don't you dare bring your grandfather into this. He was old and senile at the end, making illogical decisions. He was nothing of the sort. I shot back, my voice rising. He was sharp until the very end, and he knew exactly what he was doing. The argument escalated quickly. Clara started crying. claiming I was being selfish and tearing the family apart. David, her husband, remained mostly silent, though his discomfort was palpable. My parents became increasingly aggressive, alternating between guilt-tripping and outright demanding I comply. They threatened to cut me off, to publicly disown me, to make my life miserable that I walked out of their house that day feeling numb, but also with a fierce determination. I knew I couldn't trust them. The next day, I contacted a lawyer, recommended by a trusted friend. I explained the situation, and he looked at me with a mixture of sympathy and concern. He assured me that as the sole beneficiary, the will was very clear and legally binding. He also advised me to take immediate steps to secure the inheritance and to be prepared for a fight. Over the next few weeks, my parents and Clara hounded me. They called constantly, sent scathing emails, and even showed up at my apartment. They tried everything: emotional appeals, threats, even attempting to shame me into giving in. They accused me of being greedy, heartless, and ungrateful. They even started spreading rumors among extended family members, painting me as the villain who was hoarding my deceased grandparents' money. One particularly nasty incident occurred when my Aunt Carol, who had always been close to my mother, called me. She laid into me, saying how disappointed my grandparents would be, how I was tearing the family apart, and how I should be ashamed of myself. I calmly explained the situation, detailing how my parents were trying to coerce me into giving up my rightful inheritance. Aunt Carol, to her credit, listened intently. She then admitted that my mother had painted a very different picture, claiming I was refusing to share any of the money with them, despite their reasonable requests. I realized then that my parents were not only trying to steal from me, but were actively slandering me. My lawyer advised me to cease all direct communication with my family and to have all future correspondence go through him. It was incredibly difficult, but I followed his advice. It created a temporary calm, but I knew it wouldn't last. Then came the legal battle. My parents, through their own lawyers, tried to contest the will, claiming undue influence and arguing that my grandparents were not of sound mind when they made their final arrangements. It was a vicious and humiliating process. They brought up old grievances, twisted past conversations, and tried to paint me as a manipulative opportunist. They even hired a psychiatrist to testify that my grandparents, in their later years, might have been susceptible to suggestion, implicitly suggesting I was the one doing the suggesting. It was absurd and deeply hurtful. During the discovery phase, my lawyer uncovered something shocking. Apparently, a few years before their passing, my grandparents had had a massive falling out with my parents. It wasn't just the university choice. It was a culmination of years of my parents' snobbery, their constant demands for financial assistance, which they never repaid, and their blatant favoritism towards Clara. My grandparents had seen through their superficiality and their attempts to control their wealth. Richard, in particular, had been meticulous. He had anticipated my parents' potential actions. My lawyer presented evidence of multiple consultations my grandparents had with their estate planning attorneys over several years, all reiterating their specific intent to leave everything to me, and providing clear, detailed reasons for doing so. They had specifically stated in a notarized addendum to the will that their decision was a direct result of my parents' past behavior and their desire to ensure my financial security, free from their interference. The addendum even included specific instances where my parents had tried to pressure them into giving Clara more money or had disparaged my choices. It was a brutal, but ultimately vindicating, expose of my parents' true character. The court cases dragged on for months. It was emotionally draining and financially taxing, even with the inheritance ultimately being mine. I had to pay my lawyer, of course, but it was worth it to protect what was rightfully mine. My parents, fueled by their own greed and sense of entitlement, seemed determined to bleed me dry through legal fees, thinking I would eventually give up. But I wouldn't. I had my grandparents' words, their foresight, and my own resolve. The turning point came when my lawyer presented a series of recorded conversations and emails between my parents and my grandparents, dating back several years. These recordings, which my grandparents had secretly but legally made, clearly showed my parents constantly asking for money, criticizing my choices, and subtly, and not so subtly, trying to turn my grandparents against me. In one particularly damning recording, my mother explicitly told Eleanor that I was too much of a dreamer to handle wealth and that Clara, with her practical mindset and family responsibilities, was the more deserving heir. My grandparents' calm but firm rebuttals were also captured, showing them consistently defending my character and expressing their trust in my ability to manage my own life and finances. The judge, after reviewing all the evidence, was unequivocal. He ruled firmly in my favor. The will was upheld, and my parents' claims were dismissed as frivolous and lacking any merit. He even went so far as to publicly admonish my parents for their unscrupulous attempts to subvert the clear and expressed wishes of the deceased. He ordered them to pay a significant portion of my legal fees, stating their actions were an abuse of the legal system. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. The news spread through our extended family like wildfire. Many relatives who had been swayed by my parents' initial narrative started to realize the truth. Some of them reached out to me, apologizing for their earlier judgments and expressing their shock and disgust at my parents' behavior. Aunt Carol was one of the first, calling me in tears to say how sorry she was and how she had been completely misled. My parents, faced with public humiliation and a substantial legal bill, were shattered. Clara, realizing her golden child status was now irrevocably tarnished, was furious with them for bringing all of this to light. Her marriage to David, which had always seemed a bit superficial, began to unravel under the stress and the public scrutiny. It turned out David had been increasingly uncomfortable with my parents' machinations and Clara's entitlement throughout the whole ordeal. The financial implications of the legal fees also strained their finances, as David realized he was married into a family that was willing to ruin themselves and their relationships for money. I later heard they were getting a divorce. As for me, I finally had the inheritance, and with it, a profound sense of peace. It wasn't just the money, it was the validation. My grandparents had seen me, truly seen me, and had protected me even from beyond the grave. They had provided me not just with financial security, but with a legacy of love and trust that my parents could never understand or replicate. I've since moved into a new apartment, and I'm taking my time deciding what to do with the money. I'm investing wisely, just as Richard taught me, and I'm using some of it to pursue my passions, things I never thought I'd be able to do. I'm also setting up a foundation in my grandparents' names to support young artists and scholars who, like me, might not have the traditional family support. My parents and Clara are essentially estranged from me now. They tried a few more times to reach out, to apologize in a superficial way, but I've kept my distance. The trust is gone, irrevocably broken. I realize that sometimes family isn't about blood, it's about respect, love, and genuine support. And sometimes you have to fight for what's yours, not just for the material possessions, but for your own self-worth and the legacy of those who truly cared for you. It's a lonely path sometimes, but it's a path towards genuine freedom and self-respect. And for the first time in my life, I feel truly free.